You've been given this test by your physician or a lab. It's very important that you return this test to them as soon as possible. Since there is no preparation required, you should be able to complete this test and return it to them within a day or two. This is a very inexpensive yet very important test for you to complete, as it can detect precursors to colorectal cancer or any number of lower GI disorders that you may have. Let's go over the contents of the pouch that you've been given by your physician or the lab. This is your return mail pouch in case you must mail the sample back to your physician or lab instead of returning it in person. These are 2 flushable tissue papers that you're going to use to collect your sample. This is a biohazard specimen pouch that you will put the collection tube into after you've collected the sample. You have instructions which are in English and Spanish, and finally you have your collection tube. Speaking of the collection tube itself, there's liquid inside of this tube. Please do not empty the liquid because it's the vehicle that makes the test work. If the liquid gets dumped out, you'll have to go back to the lab or to your physician to get a new collection tube. The label on your collection tube has a space for your name, your medical record number, and the sample collection date. If you don't know your medical record number, you can put your date of birth down on there. Please make sure you fill out this label before you go into the restroom to collect your sample, and then wrap the label back around the collection tube. Note, it is very important that you do not overfill the collection tube. If you overfill the tube, you will be required to repeat the test, and we want to avoid that. So please do not fill the collection tube with stool sample. Now that you have your collection tube label filled out, you're ready to get your sample ready for collection. The first thing you're going to do is to enter your restroom, lift the toilet seat up, go ahead and take some tissue and make sure that the rim of your toilet bowl is clean and dry. You can throw the tissue into the toilet, it's not going to harm the test. Next, you're going to take one of the flushable tissue papers that was provided to you. This tissue paper has adhesive strips on both sides, so you're going to take off the backing for the adhesive strip. And you're going to make a bridge across your toilet bowl with the tissue paper. Please make sure while doing so that you leave enough slack for the sample to remain between the tissue paper and yourself, like so. Now you may lower the toilet seat. Now you can go ahead and use the restroom, depositing the sample onto the tissue paper. Please make sure you do not urinate onto the paper and the sample. Now that you have your sample on the tissue paper, it's time to actually use the collection tube to collect your sample. Unscrew the colored cap on your collection tube and take out the probe. There are ridges on the end of the probe. All you need is enough sample to cover the ridges on the end of the probe. Please do not fill the collection tube once again. I want you to take the probe, poke your sample in 6 different places, straight in and straight out. This is enough sample. You do not need more than what is on the end of this collection stick. Take the probe, put it back in your collection tube, screw tightly. Now you're finished with your collection. Now that you've finished your collection and your sample is in the collection tube, it's time to go ahead and get ready to dispose of your stool. Go ahead and lift the toilet seat, remove the adhesive strips from the side of your toilet bowl, and let the paper fall into the toilet bowl. This is flushable tissue paper. It is degradable. It will not harm your septic tank, and it will not clog your plumbing. I'm going to let the tissue paper sit in the bowl for a moment while I put the sample into the collection bag. Go ahead and put the lid down. You have your bio bag. Now that you've collected your sample into the collection tube, put it inside the bag. Make sure to keep the absorbent pad inside. Tear off the backing for the adhesive strip and go ahead and seal the biohazard bag. Now you're ready to return this to your physician or lab in person. If, for whatever reason, you cannot return this to your physician or lab in person, You can use the mailer that was provided to you. It's important to note that the squares for stamps are not representative of how much the postage actually costs. Please, if you're going to mail the sample instead of taking it back to your physician or lab in person, go to your local post office and apply the proper postage. This is very important. Since I was going to mail my sample back to my physician office or lab, I went ahead and filled out the mailer portion before coming into the restroom. Now I'm just going to take the biohazard bag, insert it into the mailer. Again, tear off the back for the adhesive portion and seal the bag. Now I can take this pouch to my local post office to apply the proper postage. All of the steps we've just gone over are included in your instruction sheet, but I want one more time to draw your attention to the fact that we do not want you to clump, scoop, or fill the tube. If you look at this photograph, all that is required is enough sample to cover the ridges on the end of the probe. Should you have any questions or concerns about how to complete this test, you may contact your physician office or lab, or you can contact Hemosure directly at tech support. The phone number is 888-436-6787. Someone will be there to answer your call from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Or you may email techsupport@hemosure.com.